Welcome everyone to the first broadcast of 2023. We are so excited to be here. We have a lot to share with you guys today. I know there is a lot of content coming at you, a lot of excitement, a lot of encouraging words. So to get us started, I would like to bring on with me Kendra Maddock. Kendra, welcome. Hello.
Thank you, Heather. We're so excited, as Heather mentioned, to be able to kick off 2023 in such a big way. I know everybody can see our new look. We're really happy with it. Today
There
we're
are a lot of
officially saying goodbye to 2022, aren't we?
Yes, it is gone. And that's a good thing because there's a lot of exciting things happening in 2023 that we are very happy to introduce today. A few of those are the new ways that you can watch on our stream. So we have YouTube now, we have Facebook where you guys can interact with us during the call. I'm really excited about that because we do have that live Q&A later.
And I want to point out something, Heather. We always have the web version where you can watch. However, the web version is not interactive. So that's kind of like your backstop if you can't get into YouTube or Facebook, because we really want you to be able to interact with us and participate with us. And those two platforms allow you to chat. When we pull you in, we can actually physically pull you in if you're down for that one time. But your questions, your interactions on both YouTube and Facebook are 100% interactive. The web version is always there as a backstop, as I mentioned, but we really want to participate with you. We want to draw you into these broadcasts. So try to utilize YouTube and Facebook, like Heather said.
Yes.
Heather, I have a question for you.
Oh, yes.
Did you set any New Year's resolutions? You don't have to tell us what they are, just like yes or no.
I did. I like that. I like starting off the year with a goal in mind.
So do I, but I tend to by mid-February have already missed the platform or totally messed it up. But one thing I do want to mention is that is the time of year that we're in. This is that time of year to be focusing on a reset. Is kind of what I try to do, is have this major reset and look at the year in front of me, look at the year behind me, focus on the things. I pull out some really good things that happened to me the year before, but then I try to stack those up against what my goals are for this next year. And I think that's kind of where we all are right now. If that kind of makes sense, that's what we should be doing. I think that this is that opportunity. Things have gotten so much better. I think from the past couple of years, we've been stuck in COVID life and everything. We've really moved beyond that. So that's my little 2 cents kind of in the back of your mind today. We're going to be talking about so many things that are going to make you super successful this year. Have it in your mind, either that goal setting, like Heather said. She's so good. She probably has a whole mapped out, checked off, color coded, yearly goals. I don't yet, but have that mindset in place. That's how we're approaching today, because if you start thinking that way and start applying some of the things that we're going to cover today, I think you'll find that this year is going to be pretty amazing. After the webinar, though, I do want to hear what your New Year's resolutions are, though, Heather. I think we are getting ready to hand off. Yep. All right. So officially, I want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us today. We know that your time is important. Sharing it with us makes us really happy. And, we really put a lot of effort and time into what we're going to share with you. So thank you, everyone, for attending. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to hand off to Ryan Maddock to get things started with just a few words.
We're excited for a new year and a new way of communicating. We started the VIP call over 20 years ago as a way to stay connected with our advisors and provide valuable ongoing training. When the time came, we moved into webinars so we could share ideas visually and answer questions in a live environment. Now, we're excited to move into the era of broadcast. This allows for a deeper level of connection as we explore new ways to reach clients, unveil new and exciting products, and take advantage of all of the features that platforms like YouTube and Facebook have to offer. And this comes at a crucial time. Over the next few months, companies all across America will receive crushing tax bills that they simply can't afford to pay. And you are the answer to their problem. You are the relief to their pain points because you have $2.3 trillion in federal tax relief ready to hand out. Now, the COVID era has affected everyone's lives, but part of this effect has changed the way that your clients want to be approached. Now, this has created a unique environment where you can finally focus on the things that matter most to you. See, you can work when you want. You can work where you want. And you can work with clients wherever they are, whichever clients you want to work with. See, the time of day and geography are no longer factors in your success. Now, over the next few months, we'll equip you to build a multi-million-dollar business. Now, this is easier than you'd think. You hear of industries all the time that are a $100 million industry or even a $1 billion industry. But you are a $2.3 trillion industry. Think about that for a moment. You have right now in your pocket $2.3 trillion. And the name of the game is simple. The more money that you hand out, the more money you make. But you have to go to work. You have to work like you've never worked before. You have to meet client demand while it's at its greatest. And you have to spend every moment of every day letting people know that you have money for them. This needs to become part of your very breath. It needs to flow from you naturally, to the point that everyone that meets you can see the passion that you have for this. And if you do this for the next few months, you will have a multi-million-dollar business, one that will feed you for decades to come, with loyal clients that will work with you on all of your core services. And most importantly, it's going to allow you the freedom to focus on the lifestyle that you deserve. Now, I'll make a commitment to you. As a team, we will spend the coming months arming you with every possible tool to reach new clients. But you have to commit to yourself that you're going to run after it.
Thank you, Ryan, for those incredible words of encouragement and inspiration on what to look for in 2023, what your next coming months are going to be, what you should expect, and what kind of work you should be putting into it. Now, kicking off our next segment, we're going to be focusing on how to approach commercial property owners and cost segregation specifically. So I'm going to go ahead and hand off to Kendra and Clark, who will get us started on that information.
As an advisor, it's very important to have a basic understanding of what cost segregation is. It impacts you. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at that right now? At the definitive level, cost segregation is a powerful IRS-accepted tax planning strategy. It's used to accelerate depreciation deductions, it produces significant tax deferrals, and it increases the client's cash flow. All important. But when we break it down, it's basically just a tax incentive for every commercial property owner. I wanted to show you the basics, like what does this mean for you? Cost segregation is our largest upfront money for our clients or your clients. It's also the service that brings the largest upfront commission to you. There's 3 examples or case studies on your screen. One's a retail facility. Their benefit was about $758,000. The commission to that advisor was about $15,500. There's an apartment complex. Their benefit was $1.3 million. And the commission to that advisor was about $18,000. There was an office warehouse building that was a client. Their benefit, about $40,000. Still a little bit of money. And the commission to that client was about $6,000. I wanted to share this with you because it's important. This is why we do the work, is in order to get paid. And this is what it does for our client. It gets them that large upfront money and it gets you that large upfront commission. Who are your clients? Who are those potentials that are out there? Well, when it boils down to it, it's every single commercial property owner. But I want to give you some names of clients, like the type of businesses that own their buildings. That's important because that's what we're looking for. So the types of businesses that own their own buildings are auto dealerships, office buildings, manufacturers, apartment complexes, restaurants, medical and dental offices, coffee shops, distribution facilities, construction companies, typically own a lot of their own properties. Property management companies, we're going to come back to that later. Financial advisors, grocery stores, golf courses, tech industry, engineering offices, charter schools, spas, fitness centers, hotels, veterinarians. You get the point. These are the types of businesses that typically own their buildings or facilities. That's who you're looking for. Now, the big question. How are you going to be getting in front of these people? Like, that's the bottom line, right? How am I going to get out there? How am I going to reach them? There's an important thing that you have to keep in mind, and it's the first thing you should be thinking about. You need to start with the people that you know. Okay, Kendra, how am I going to do that? What am I going to say? How am I going to reach out to them? Well, you're going to use your toolbox. In that toolbox, we have tools like scripts, email templates, social network templates, follow-ups, all kinds of tools. I can't even name them all. There's that many. Your toolbox is going to give you everything you need to reach out to those people that you know and get started. And the interesting thing about every single tool in your toolbox is it leads them to your personalized landing pages. That's what's going to take everything to the next level for you. So what are you going to do? You're going to start with the people that you know, and you're going to use your tools in the toolbox. And those tools are going to push them to your personalized landing pages. Why is that important? That's important because then it pulls them into the entire tax management system. Now, your tax management system is an entire system that not only qualifies your clients for cost segregation, but every other tax credit that they're owed or that they can utilize. Now, think about that. Wrap your head around that. Not only is that cost segregation, that's every other tax incentive that they qualify for. An entire enclosed system that allows you to service your client to the highest level, bring them every benefit available to them, in turn, bringing you the highest level of commissions. So that is basic understanding of cost segregation. That's all you need to know to get started. Now, we're going to do something exciting. We're going to move on to an interview. The white whale of cost segregation. So I named this segment the white whale of cost segregation for a very specific purpose. You know, in sales terms, a white whale can be that lead that has the potential to bring enormous sales revenue, tons of money to either the company or the individual. You know, whales, they're large, they're elusive, sometimes they're difficult to catch. And many in sales are going to go above and beyond to kind of capture, maybe even hyper focus on capturing that white whale. And today we're going to determine what the white whale of cost segregation is for us. And to do that, I've asked someone who's an expert in this area to join us. Most of you are already familiar with him, and that's Clark Stover. Clark is our National Director of Specialized Tax Incentives here at GMG. Clark, how many years have you been serving in that capacity?
5 years.
And I think you've been with us almost 11. So
yes, yeah.
I'm going to get right to the point, Clark, and ask you the direct question. When it comes to cost segregation, what would you, as the expert, say is our white whale?
It can come in many forms, but ours, I think, are twofold. One is the large portfolio of real estate holdings, so the real estate investment companies, the REITs, real estate investment trusts, and the other category, I think, is CPAs. It's accountants and CPAs historically.
Yep. And I think a lot of our advisors are going to be surprised to hear that it's not just CPAs. That's not all we focus on. And sometimes these other avenues are actually a lot more lucrative as a partnership than our CPAs. Even though CPA partnerships are great, sometimes these other avenues can even be a bigger whale, if we can use that term, for us.
Yeah. Yes,
so,
absolutely.
I want to ask you a question about kind of how advisors, in your experience, how you've seen, maybe can you tell us, where do you think the largest opportunity for them lies to be able to connect with those that may be considered a larger partnership?
Right. And it varies slightly, of course, from advisor to advisor, situation to situation. Really, it's networking, it's connections, it's um, keeping your ears open to those types of opportunities. But having said that, it's also the real simple form where you just make a connection with one client,
Right.
and that one connection leads to another connection, either with a CPA or they're part of a firm. And I can give some examples of that also.
I would love you to do that. I want you to expand on that one client point, because I
Right.
think that when we're talking about partnerships, we can get kind of super hyper focused on something that has to seem really big at the beginning. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the one specific client that we can use as an example, a large real estate investment firm, very, very large national firm. The connection was made with an advisor, that one of our advisors, and he was part of that organization. He had invested in the firm. He had made an investment. It's a public holding company, so he made an investment. He made some connections. He started to talk with some of the partners, and we were given an opportunity years ago. I'm trying to think as I say this, how long ago that was, maybe 3-4 years ago, of one property. And they were probably, this is probably in their early stages of development of this company, but it was this one property. And it was, I looked at it originally, the opportunity didn't look that good. It was like a competitive bid. It was, okay, this is the price we've got from some other providers for cost seg. Can you match this? What can you do? And so we were able to, be competitive, meet their price, actually better than their price. And that was kind of our, foot in the door, basically. And then, it's just been a really good partnership with the advisor, who's still always involved with, the company and the partners in the company. So the relationship is good. And then I've been able to work with them over the years as they brought in, more and more clients. We're up to, I think, 40 different properties now that they've done over the past 3 years or so. So it's a great relationship. And it's just that one little, okay, it's a competitive bid. It doesn't look like a great opportunity. So you don't know until you get into it and develop the relationship and develop the partnership. And then, the way our company performed also was a great advantage because it, gave them the confidence to bring us additional business as we went forward.
And I want to touch on something that was a little bit hidden in what you were saying. In that initial deal that we did with this client didn't seem that large. It didn't seem like it was going to turn into something so large down the road. But the amount of work and time that was put in by not only your behalf, but as well as the advisor of this client for just that initial deal. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's foundational. And then as that client continues to grow into this whale that it became, the work doesn't seem so hard from that point forward because you've already built that foundation. Am I correct in assuming that?
Absolutely. Normally you're right. Now, the caveat here is this is a growing company, right? The company was growing exponentially as it moved forward. So there was some, logistical issues with, dealing with them, but that's all part of the package, part of what
I think that goes along with fostering partnerships. And that's another question that I wanted to ask you. So I'm going to tailor a question that I already had. My question was, can you tell us what opportunities an advisor could be missing to build partnerships? That question, along with what things can they do once they've already worked with a client to kind of build that into something more long-term? What can they do to foster it, to turn it into something that's more of a partnership? And also, what kind of opportunities do you think that an advisor might be missing in their daily work with their client base that could build it into a partnership?
I think, again, the as far as the relationship and uncovering these opportunities, you don't know. So you want to be of a mindset that you're perceptive and understanding what might be out there, what something could lead to, or someone who knows someone. Right. So it's just about, I think, that kind of openness to the situation and being able to understand that, okay, this is a CPA on one client. Is a CPA going to, who is the CPA? Find out who the CPA is.
Right. That's a key when you're building that foundation.
Right.
Every single client that you do cost segregation on, if they're working with a CPA, that is one of the very first things you should do is find out who they are, add them to the client card, introduce yourself to them, right?
Correct. Exactly. But as far as the opportunities, I mean, the opportunities are out there. You just have to set yourself apart in the sense that, you're providing a service. You're going to make it seamless in the beginning. You're going to make it easy for them to do business with us, or at least get to the point where that we can, give them some prices, give them, show them about our process.
Right.
So it's just that understanding and that mentality. As far as the relationship begins, that's a fine line the advisors have to walk. They're involved, but they're not. Sometimes they're too involved. So the involvement really would come on the backside, would come more with me, an involvement or relationship with me. And then,
Right.
and then we kind of tag team the client as far as what we need or who we need it with, or as, issues come up.
I think that's an important detail that you just mentioned, is knowing when to be involved and when to kind of push and when to allow the client or the partnership some space.
Correct.
And knowing when to depend on you or the organization as that backstop to knowing that, we've got this, that we handle these constantly for them. That is kind of a fine balance. And I know you work very closely with advisors to make sure that they understand, okay, you should probably give them a little bit of space and let me work this for this length of time or what have you, or you need to get involved because we need to push them forward. So kind of them being comfortable with how that all works together to make it a solid relationship is really important for us to get across to advisors as well.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes to rein back a little bit and let the process, which is a great process, to let it work and let our staff do their work and help support the client.
Yeah, do what we're good at.
Right.
Another question that I have for you, I mentioned this a little bit a few moments ago. When we think about partnerships, I do this myself, and I know a lot of our advisors do this too. The first thing that comes to my mind is CPAs. And sometimes I tend to forget, as you mentioned earlier, the property management organizations.
Yes.
But there's lots of other ones as well. I think our huge, like our biggest whale is what you mentioned already, property management organizations. They're going to be the biggest, but we also have others like franchises, franchisee organizations, membership organizations, service organizations. Is there anything that you'd like to share to kind of touch on any of those aspects of partnerships and building those out or maintaining those?
Yeah, I think they can be really good. It just depends on the specific situation. Franchises are ones where, black and white, yes or no. Do they own the properties? Do they not own the properties? Separate holding companies. There's some issues you have to address that. But I think it's a great, because when you can't just look at cost like in a vacuum. It's other services that we're providing for those types of opportunities. But even simple, manufacturers, if it's the right manufacturer, they're going to own multiple buildings.
Exactly.
And again, you're talking about uncovering an opportunity, not just immediate, but for the long term. So a manufacturer that's aligned with other manufacturers, again, it's a kind of a network that you're trying to get into and understand, and then provide a service for one, and then kind of word of mouth or performance based.
Right. I think one of the things that is key to being able to successfully build these partnerships and have those white whales, multiple of them, is, and this is kind of an undercurrent in everything that you've said that I've picked up, is being comfortable enough to reach out, build that initial foundation, and comfortable enough in the relationship with us as an organization to work together to foster that. And I think that first step, that's the hardest one for our advisors to do, is to reach out. So you've named several different types of organizations that are ideal for white whales. The first one being property management, CPAs,
investment companies,
these different organizations, right? So the confidence for an advisor to be able to reach out and start building those. Is there any tips that you want to give kind of as a wrap up to our advisors? Tips on being able to kind of put yourself out there and to build that initial relationship or initial contact or initial deal?
I think as we've moved through the years, I think it comes down to just having that conversation, just a simple conversation. Just, you own commercial properties, of course. Do you, as a course, use cost segregation as a strategy to defer taxes? And and the answer is yes or no, or I don't know.
Right.
So then you go from there, right?
Right.
So if it's yes, okay, who's your provider? Are you happy with your provider? We can give you a simple comparison or those kinds of things, and using our software, it's very, very unique in that sense. It's seamless, it's quick. They can get an estimate, and then I can get involved.
Right. I love the fact that anytime I speak with you, Clark, you just have this commanding, calm presence that works whenever you're talking to a client or a CPA or an organization or an advisor. And I think that if I could give a tip to any advisor that's shared with us today, is to kind of glean a little bit of the personality or the style of communication that Clark is able to kind of maintain when speaking to your potential partnerships and clients, because there's a confidence that comes across in knowing your stuff. And you don't have to know every detail of cost segregation. In fact, it's better if you don't. But there's this confidence in knowing that cost segregation has a huge benefit to businesses and in turn, a huge benefit to you, because we want you out there as advisors getting these white whales. So thank you, Clark, very much for sharing your insights with us today. We appreciate it. And we're going to return back in the next segment. Thank you, everyone. We have some great ways for you to reach commercial property owners. It's no secret that you really must go beyond the inbox to succeed today. It's not enough to send an occasional email or run 1 or 2 ads in today's market. You have to get ahead of others by using all of the tools in your disposal to reach potential clients. That's why we've provided you with the marketing toolbox. Verbal scripts, email templates, social posts, landing pages, blog articles, and more. And we have new items in the toolbox specifically for marketing to commercial property owners. Let's go ahead and take a look at that right now. The way we're going to do that is through a visual walkthrough, exactly what it looks like when you go to your marketing toolbox. What you see right now is the homepage of the marketing toolbox. I'm just going to scroll down here for a minute so you can get a kind of feel of what everything looks like here. You've got your verbal scripts, email templates, social posts, landing pages, blog articles, and more. Everything's in its own section, but everything works together just like a toolbox. Every tool in your toolbox works upon each other. We're going to start by taking a look at verbal scripts. Here we go. Now scroll down. There's a little bit of info at the top of the page, kind of giving you some tips and tricks. But on verbal scripts, especially for commercial property owners, you want to take a look at number 3. We've done some tweaking and kind of updated it right here, commercial property owners. When you come in here, you'll see that we've changed some of the verbiage to kind of line up with where we are in time frame as far as tax credits and depreciation, bonus depreciation. So this is the brand new script that you're going to be using for commercial property owners. There's an additional script for commercial property owners. That's number 4, and that's kind of a follow-up. That's been kind of tweaked a little bit as well. So you'll notice that we have 2 updated, or brand new actually, scripts for commercial property owners when you go into scripts, and that's number 3 and number 4. Now, I'm going to quickly scroll to the top. If you return back to that home page, the next item on our list is email templates. Let's take a look at that. Here's your email template page. Again, a few little tips and tricks here at the top. You'll notice commercial property owner has the 2nd and the 3rd. So I'm going to click on this. It's going to take me right there. You'll notice that both of these email templates have been updated as well. Again, to reflect where we are as far as timing, taxes, bonus depreciation, kind of giving them that little bit of push. Remember, when you're using your email templates, you're going to want to highlight the whole thing, change out your signature line. And one thing that's extremely important is make sure you get your link in there. Make sure your link works when you're sending this, okay? That's vitally important. Otherwise, they're never going to get to your landing page. So email templates are email template number 2, as well as email template number 3. Again, they're just slightly different. You can use them for whichever situation works for you. You're going to highlight, copy, paste, change out your signature line, and make sure that link is working. So those are your 2 updated email templates for commercial property owners. Quick scroll to the top. There we are. We're going to return back to the home page. The next item is social posts. This is one of the ones that I really enjoy. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. Here's your main page for social posts. Again, we're just going to scroll down here, and you're going to notice that we've switched out a lot in here. We're going to focus on number 3 and number 4. 1, 2, 3. Nope. Number 4 and number 5. Both of these have been changed out for commercial property. You'll notice brand new images, brand new verbiage on both of them. Both of them are going to take you to your cost seg landing page. Again, you're going to highlight this text, copy and paste it into your social network, right click on the image, save it, upload it, and send your post. Always, always, always make sure your link works before you click send or post or whichever network you're on. So make sure that link works. Otherwise, you won't ever get them back to your landing pages. So 2 great brand new commercial property owner social posts. Love them, especially like this one. I love the imagery we've got on those. Very professional. Quick scroll back to the top here. We're going to pop over to blog articles. Here we go. Again, scroll through. Everything's set up pretty much the same. You're going to notice that the last one here, or I'm sorry, the first to last one. What is the time value of money mean to commercial property owners? This is the brand new blog post article, whichever you want to call it. You can use it on any network. You can use it in email. You can text it. However you see fit to be able to use this article, it's great. It really allows us to kind of punch in and explain the value of cost seg to our commercial property owners and use that as a benefit in your marketing. The landing pages have not changed. They're all the same, but they work, and so we don't need to update those. Going back to your home page, that is everything that's brand new in the marketing toolbox for commercial property owners.
Thank you to Kendra and to Clark for all of the information on cost segregation and for outlining the new tools that are available. It's always exciting to see new pieces adding to the marketing toolbox, especially specific to reaching out to commercial property owners. And that kicks us into Q&A. We just covered a lot of information with you all on cost seg and on approaching commercial property owners. Clark shared a lot of amazing insight there. Now, if you haven't put your questions in, make sure you're putting those in now. We are kicking into that right now. So we're going to start those Q&A pieces. If you haven't in YouTube or Facebook, you can add your questions in the comments and feedback there. That way we can go ahead and we can cover them live on the call today because there was a lot of information covered on cost seg, a lot of amazing pieces of knowledge that were just shared with you guys that it seems you have questions on. So we definitely want to make sure we answer those. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to bring on Kendra because Kendra is going to be heading up the Q&A session today. Kendra, welcome back in.
Thanks, Heather. So we're really excited to do our Q&A. Obviously, I get really excited because this is our opportunity to really talk to you and hear from you and hear what you have to say. So you're here today with myself as well as Clark and Ryan. And I'm going to dive right in because Heather did an amazing intro and I don't have to redo it because she's great. Our first question is going to come from Tom. And Tom asks, is there a sweet spot as to how long they've owned their property for cost segregation? And Clark, I think this is a great question to kind of kick things off with you if you want to take that one.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. It's a big old broad swath of time, really. It's we have gone back 20 years. We don't often go back 20 years, but we can go back 20 years, and certainly that's one opportunity all the way. You know, I think the sweet spot is probably between 10 and 5 years because they're going to get all the benefit coming back to them immediately. And a newer property, it's kind of over a couple of years they'll get the benefit from. But that's all brought out and discussed on the feasibility analysis. They'll have a clear understanding of what it is, and you know they can make that decision at that point to see if it makes sense.
Sounds great. All right. We're going to go quick, everybody, because we want to get as many questions as possible. And that question was actually asked for several people. Scott, it was also the question that you had, pretty close to the same one. So we're going to go ahead and mark yours off, but thank you for submitting it as well. The next one I want to cover is, scrolling down, this one here. And it's from Deepak. And he asks, do farm or landowners, are they a good prospect for cost seg or tax credits? Ryan, this is kind of a broader topic, so I'm going to throw it to you if you want to handle that one for us.
Absolutely. So good question. And by the way, ask your questions by commenting below in any of the platforms. But to jump right into this, Deepak, cost seg is all about infrastructure. It's all about components. So a good way to look at it is the more components there are, the larger the cost seg benefit. And so I'll use a few different examples. One is, let's say, storage units. So a storage unit or a warehouse is a big building and there's not a lot of components in the middle. On the opposite end of that extreme would be, say, a doctor's office, because you have the same amount of square footage maybe, but inside you have like 1 million micro walls, and you have electrical and you have plumbing and all these other things. So a good way to think of it in cost seg, we can look at anything, but the more guts, the more glory. Now, a good example when you're thinking of landowners would be like golf courses, because golf courses actually have a clubhouse. There's a lot of infrastructure in the ground itself in terms of irrigation system, parking lots, lighting, all of those kind of things will qualify. The most important thing, though, with any property is that you get it in front of us so that we can look at it and we can talk about it and we can see what the benefit would be there. So good question.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm going to move on. I'm going to actually keep you up because I want you to handle the next one, and as briefly as possible, because we could talk about this one for hours. But Steve asks, what's the latest update on bonus depreciation relative to cost seg?
Kendra, every time we're doing a VIP and we talk about bonus depreciation, you always handle that. And I use that as my opportunity to get up and go get a drink and things like that.
See how we got off the hook right there, you guys?
You're the moderator, but I'm now going to moderate and toss that question back to you.
Awesome. Well, Steve, I'm going to briefly cover it. It's a tear down. Last year was still 100%. This year is 80. And without looking at my notes, I honestly don't know how quickly it tears down, but I think it's 2005. I'm probably wrong, but without my notes, it'll be down to 0. This year, it's still 80%. So you can use that as a great opportunity when talking to the potential clients. I've actually, our team, our marketing team, Zoe, I'm going to start throwing her name in there because we're going to pull her in next month with our broadcast. Our new scripts and everything really touch on bonus depreciation because it's kind of the big buzz this year when it comes to marketing for cost segregation. So you'll notice that in there, but 80% this year. I'll get the details to support for the rest, like the whole tear down for you. See how Ryan threw me in the mix there? Let's see. Next question. Clark, I'm going to throw a couple questions at you in sequence. This one is from Greg, and Greg's asking the average turnaround on a case. He's asking 6 months. That's a big difference from what we provide. And then we're going to follow that one up with, is there a minimum qualification needed for the property, from Gary?
These are two different questions from the same person?
Yep. Nope, two different people. Greg's question is our average turnaround on a case. And that one's a quick answer. So
the turnaround, it's dependent on documents they provide to us. So if they provide the documents timely, the turnaround is very quick. I mean,
and by very quick, Clark, means we can get them done. Our average is 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. That's exactly what I was going to say, Kendra. 2 weeks.
If they're on top of it and they get us the documentation and photos quickly, which is standard at this point, our average is 2 weeks. It can take longer than that. I mean, sometimes Clark has to bug them a little bit, but it happens very rare. The next question I'm throwing over to you, Clark, is from Gary. Oh, nope, wrong one. Well, you can take this one. Does a portfolio of single-family homes constitute an eligible client?
Potentially it could. It does. We've done single families if they're exclusively rentals, Airbnbs.
Okay. And Gary's other question that I wanted to throw in is, what do we tell a client when they're asking us about the process? That was his. And then minimum value. This is the one I was looking for. What is the minimum value that's needed for a property?
I hate this because it depends on the type of building, right? So it's value and then the type of building, because as Ryan alluded to, it's going to vary a little bit, but I would say 500,000. We've gone a little bit less than that, so we can go 400,000. I mean, it just depends. It's just not going to be unless it's a very complex building type. It's not going to make sense for anybody, especially on the commission side. You're not going to, it's not.
Yeah, I want to add to that too, and that is that this is all driven on your .me website because, what we did was about a year ago, we took all of the deals we had done in the last 5 years and we backloaded them into an AI engine that looked at which deals were most profitable for the clients, most advantageous for the, for us as a team, paid the highest commissions, that kind of thing. And what the system does is it actually looks. So one time you might run through and it might be $400,000 in benefit based on type of building, how many employees, all those kind of things. And it might not recommend cost seg to the client. The next time you might enter $250,000 or $300,000 situationally based on type of building. So the part I'd like to add there is, while Clark's giving a very accurate answer for if you had him on the phone, what would he say? Like, Clark's been here a long time. We've all been here a long time, but the AI engine is really what's driving this, and that's what you need to rely on.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to move into a kind of a different area. This question is from Cheryl. And Cheryl asks that she mentions that she's finding accountants feel like they can do cost seg and they don't want to give up the income. What kind of feedback do you have on that, Clark? Clark, you build a lot of our partnerships. I think this one is key for you.
Yeah, so they can, to be perfectly honest, they can, but they can't do it to the degree or the amount of classified assets that we get, because we're doing it. We have an engineer, we have an engineering staff that actually looks at the property, looks at the components, the structural components of the building, and can really break down everything that needs to be broken down to get the maximum benefit. Right. So CPAs, I've seen CPAs do it, and they'll do it more now. Recently, they'll, things that are readily visible to them, like they can see that a parking lot or paving or landscape, they can see that piece of it, then they can break that out in shorter life, but they can't go into the building and break out the nuts and bolts and wiring and the various
exactly. Yeah, thank you. Our next one is coming from Steve, and Steve asks if there's a dashboard that they can look at as an advisor that shows the prospective clients that are being worked through the tax management system. One thing I want to clarify is once they're in the tax management, they're no longer prospective at that point. They are a paying client of yours. And I'm going to take this one because this kind of falls in the wheelhouse of my wonderful support department. When you log into your portal, your GMG portal, you have a page that says My Clients. If you go to that page, you can actually walk through the entire process of where a client would be as far as a lead, in production, or even completely closed and paid. So that's the place that you'd want to go kind of for those details. So definitely you have a place to go. If you want more details on that, reach out to the support department. They'll do a walkthrough with you and kind of show you exactly where to look for each one of those items. Ryan, I'm going to throw this one to you because I have two questions that are very similar. And so I'm going to paraphrase a question from Tom, and then I'll pull the other name. Basically, I'll actually pull Tom's up here. If he understands it correctly, the role of advisor is to get them to the landing page and then let us take it from there. Is that correct? And this is very similar. I actually count maybe 3 or 4 similar questions. Do you want to kind of touch on that and give some direction?
Yeah, I would almost say that your role, there's really 2 different types. One is getting someone to the page, and the other one is really building a relationship. Because remember, it's not just about getting them into the tax management system or in for cost seg or in for ERC. It's about building a relationship with a client that they're going to be a lifelong client. They're going to, really be a client of yours, forever. And so, for all of your services, what I mean by that. So I guess what I would say, there's 2 ways for someone to arrive at becoming a client. One is that you've done a social post or you've sent an email, something like that. And that's going to drive them in, and they get signed up, they get into the tax management system, they become a paying client. And at that point, you step into the process, and that's where you're nurturing the relationship. Now, will the system do everything for you? Absolutely. The system will take you through, and it does all the time. However, if you get in there and nurture it, you're going to really make sure that we're getting all the things that are needed and getting that client going quickly. So that's one part. The other part is if you've got to go in and nurture that client before they sign up. So, to answer, and Kendra, I saw another question come up just a minute ago. It was flashed on the screen.
Yeah, I pulled in Bev, Jeremy's, and I believe Tom's because they are all quite similar.
So, when you're looking at this, Bev asked about the process. So with a client, the main thing is to get the client comfortable with the idea of taking a tax incentive. And I think that's where it really starts and from there, get them to your website, because the website is going to take it across the line. Now, as I was just mentioning, other times you're just driving them via email or text or social post. If you saw, some of my segment last month where I talked about texting a client to get them, across the finish line. So it really depends where you're coming from. I hope that makes sense. But Bev, to answer clearly on the process, the real process, more than cost seg, more than ERC, more than anything else, is to get the client to the understanding that there is something available. So if that's social awareness, then you've got tools for that. If that's email, you've got tools for that. If that's conversational, then you've got scripts for that. But I would say that's the real process, is get the client comfortable with the concept that there are tax incentives to be taken. And then from there, you can move them into the how to take it, which is go get enrolled in the tax management system. And that's going to guide them through the rest of the process. So really good question, Bev. And because I wasn't looking.
Bev, Tom, and Jeremy, all similar. Thank you so much. Ryan, I have one question that I want to share, but I think we're going to wait to the very end of the call to answer. And this will probably wrap up our Q&A session if that sounds good to you. And it's from Mike. And Mike says, did anyone ask how an advisor makes $1 million in 15 days? And I didn't pay Mike to ask that question.
No.
So it was a perfect segue.
No
Mike,
one asked that question.
Yeah. Mike, by the end of this call, you'll definitely know the answer to your question. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up our Q&A section. Thank you, everyone. Again, if your question wasn't answered, we'll strive to answer that through support. We did try to pull in as many as possible and kind of group them together. So thank you for participating in that. We have something really exciting right now that we're going to move into. We have an interview. Ryan was able to sit down recently with one of our newer advisors, Josh. Josh has actually only been with us for a couple of months. But in those few months, he's really been able to kind of take our process, meld it with his own and his own strategy and tactics, and come up with something really interesting. And I think that you're all going to find, his tidbits really interesting and kind of pay off. So now to that interview.
Today with Josh from Kansas. Josh, such a pleasure to have you. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to join me. One of the reasons that I wanted to reach out and bring Josh on was it's easy, and we hear stories all the time about someone that took the script, they took Kendra's template, they took the email, and they did it and they got a deal out of it. One of the things I like is I think Josh's approach is really unique and different from what we teach. And I don't want to just show you our point of view and hear success stories on how we're doing it, but I want to show you how individualizing and personalizing a system can really take it to the next level. So Josh, you've been an advisor for, at the time of this recording, just a few months, just since August. And I really love your approach. So they hear from me all the time. I'd love to hear from them, from you. Talk about what you're doing, how you're approaching clients, and just kind of your overall workflow.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan. I do take I think a little bit different approach, and really it's just out of a mindset of self-preservation and trying to give as much time as I can back to my family and honor that. And so I've employed a few virtual assistants. And so with my virtual team, what I have them doing is they are actually, we're using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and they filter. So I'll give them a target industry, say manufacturing, and they'll go and they'll filter that manufacturing list of names out of Sales Navigator. And then we use another tool called Seamless.ai, which is essentially like a contact information scraping. And it'll give you cell phone numbers and work office numbers and email addresses. And so we just we get all the contact info for those leads. And then the VAs have a script that I've given them, and have them. I start messaging. They start messaging the potential candidates, mostly SMS messaging. And then if we can't get if they're SMS or they're on like a do not call list, then we'll reach out to them through LinkedIn's InMail. And again, that script that we're using, it's similar to what you had put out in a recent VIP call. And essentially, it's just starting a dialogue like, hey, have you heard of the ERCs, or did you know there's $26,000 that's available for your employees? It's something very simple. We just ask them that question. We get a dialogue going. This is all the VAs that are doing this. And they're messaging back and forth. They start that conversation, and then if somebody, hasn't, then right away they're prompting them to set a meeting and sending them my Calendly invite. And even if they have gotten the ERCs already, we congratulate them, say, "Man, that's awesome. So many of your peers haven't done that." And then we're expanding the dialogue to the other credits that are available: WOTC, R&D, cost segregation, the whole list. And really, saying, okay, well, that's awesome. You did it with these other people. Have you taken advantage of these ones as well? And 9 times out of 10, they haven't. And so that, again, is helping to drive them towards an appointment. Now, I also have a consulting business. And so, what I do with GMG is just a small piece of that. And so,
Josh, I'm glad you're bringing that up. I always want to make sure people know, not only are we like okay with that, we pitch this as a major part of our business model, is that what we really look at things is that you have a core business, a core offering. And what we really want to be is we want to be a way in the door, which is exactly what I think you're doing. You're going out there, and instead of being in, maybe a noisy space for a service, you're going and saying, okay, I'm going in with this other approach. I'm getting them in. And then, really building that relationship from there. I know you were getting ready to talk about that, but yeah, talk about that part of the process and how you take someone from ERC to your core service offerings.
Yeah. So, my discovery process is for my business writ large and everything that I do, as I'll usually start that discussion with them about, what are your business pain points? Where are you struggling? I'll ask them, how is business going? And just get them talking and taking good notes about, how it's going on and where they're struggling. 9 times out of 10, it's a cash flow issue of some type. And that makes it really easy with your offering at GMG to say, look, like here's a way to get a quick win, right? And get some cash pretty fast. So I'll start with the tax credits. And so we'll dive in with the tax credits. We'll run them through the TMS, kind of give them an example of, what's available to them, maybe talk through some case studies of other companies that have gotten that tax credit. There's another a GMG advisor, his name's Neil, and he turned me on to the example of just figuring out what their margins are, what their average sale is, and then what the front end sales equivalent of that is. And so I use that one often. So if you're a restaurant and you have 10% margins and your average burger sale is $10, if we can get you $100,000 in tax credit savings, that's equivalent to $1 million in front end burger sales. Right?
Yeah, no, I pause there for a second because I want to expand on that because it's such a powerful. I've used this a lot with clients over the years, that when you're showing someone with any credit, hey, we're going to get you $200,000 or $300,000. You've got to unpack for them sometimes that, hey, this is the equivalent probably of a few million in sales. And what I mean by that is, in order for a business owner to walk away with a net, let's just call it $100,000. Well, they probably had to have a net operating because there's taxes involved. So you've got a net operating maybe you had to make, depending on your tax bracket, $150,000, $160,000 net operating. Then you got to ask yourself, what's your margin? And maybe they say, well, my margin is 10% or 23% or whatever the case is. Then you backwards do that math. And this is how you end up. And you say, listen, if we were sitting in this meeting and I could tell you that I could increase your gross sales by $2 million, would we be having this dialogue? Yeah. Because you'd have to do 2 million. So let me ask you, would it be easier? Another line I like to use. Would it be easier for you to increase your revenue by $2 million or for you to sign this? And this becomes that no-brainer because, Josh, I love that you are doing this because it unpacks for them what it would take for the business owner to actually get $100 or $200 or $300,000 in net income in their pocket, which is what our programs are providing.
Yep. So it's back to the process, so before we have the call, I'm actually sending them a little 5-minute video that is kind of introducing it and talking about the pain points. And then I give them a case study and basically just say, hey, look, I'm really looking forward to our Zoom call where we're going to talk more about this. And I'm going to onboard you with the TMS. And then during the discovery, after I do my broader discovery, because I'm also asking questions about the other aspects of what my personal business does, usually the tax credits is the easy, quick win. And so at that point, I'll take them to my landing page and then have them log in on their computer and go right to it. And then we walk through it together. And then I'm asking them to put their credit card info in and sign up. So that way, my goal is before we get off the call, they get to that GMG booking link on the backside of the portal once they're inside, so that before we end the call, the discovery call, we've got the appointment set with, Jacqueline or Clark or whoever they're going to end up with. So
another thing you're doing there that's key that I want to really highlight is you're staying on with them while they go through the process. So many times I hear that, someone just gets dumped to a website, which is a valid process. You can do that. That's what it's designed for. But you're going to exponentially, improve your closing rate or conversion rate if you're staying on the phone with them. Now, the other reason to stay on with them is you can overcome an objection. And this is one that, everybody experiences from time to time. And we can go back and retarget the client through email campaigns and try to overcome this. But, Josh, I'm sure you encounter it like everybody. So you get to that last page and you're showing them, hundreds of thousands in benefit or whatever the case is, and it pops up and it says $19. I'm sure you're not immune to this. None of us are. How do you overcome the objection when, somebody says, wait, what? I was all on board when it was $300,000 me, but now you want $19, and you want my credit card. It's kind of like, it's like asking for engagement on the first date a little bit. So how do you overcome that?
Yeah. So, usually I take them back to those pain points that they brought up. And then I just say, like when we started this call, you said cash flow was an issue. When we went through the case studies and, that example, like the $1 million in front end sales is the equivalent of, your $100,000 credit. Like, can I come back to that and I say, like, are you really, not willing to spend that kind of money, $20 or whatever their TMS cost is to get access to that? I said, look, one single WOTC client is going to more than cover your, the cost of the TMS, like a single hire, a new hire that qualifies. So, that's small. And if it's really ultimately that big of an objection, like I'll tell them, hey, look, I'll send you, the first 6 months or, whatever. Yeah. It's $20 a month. I'll send you the, $120 for your first 6 months. And if it's really still not a value add, like cancel, man.
Yeah.
But, we're talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars and tying it back. I'll give a shout out to another GMG guy, if you'll allow me.
Yeah.
But there's an advisor, a GMG advisor, his name's Scott Wiederhold, and he actually does gap selling training. And I went through that for Scott and with him, and man, it changed the way that I approach how I talk to clients and prospects, and really helped me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Josh, you're killing it. I appreciate. I love too that you're not like, this is my secret. It's my secret sauce. I mean, we reached out to you and said, hey, would you mind creating, yourself thousands of competitors that, don't worry, you won't, because not everybody will take the application time to do what you've done. But I hope people draw some tidbits from it. What I like the most is you've made it personal. You've taken what Neil said, what Scott said, what maybe Kendra said, and you've really went and built something, and that I applaud, and think you're doing a great job. And I really look forward to Neil, who you mentioned. Neil and I have been working together for probably 12, 15 years, and I look forward to having the same relationship with you. So Josh, thanks for taking time to join us today. And any final thoughts?
No, I just thank you, Ryan, for the opportunity to come on and share. And, thanks to the guys that have been around for a while that, have shared with me, because I've only been doing this for a few months. So, I wouldn't know what I know if guys like Scott and Neil hadn't been willing to, drop some knowledge on me. So
absolutely, givers gain. That's what we're all benefiting from. So, all right, thanks, Josh. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
All right, Ryan, take care.
Thank you, Ryan and Josh. Hearing from you personally, Josh, was really insightful. I personally really appreciated how you touched on finding the pain points and making that a connection with our potential clients. I always kind of pull that in when I'm talking. I think it's really important. And I think your strategy actually ties in great with some of the new tools that we have available specifically for ERC. So let's take a look at those right now. We have some great new ways to reach employers. As always, we're going to utilize our marketing toolbox. Let's look at the updates that are available for you right now. We're going to do that by taking a look at the marketing toolbox homepage that you can see right there on your screen. This is exactly what it looks like when you log in. As you scroll down, you'll see each tool, and keep in mind that each tool builds upon the other. You've got your verbal scripts, email templates, social posts, landing pages, blog articles, and more. We're going to start by taking a look at the verbal scripts. Got that pulled up right here. And as I scroll down, there's one thing I want to point out first, and that's this check-in. This is the first script right here, number 1, the check-in. Last month, Ryan shared with us a really useful and successful way to reach potential clients, and that was with the text to close. And I want to point out that script number 1 is a version of that script and tactic. So we need to be utilizing this. This is especially for employers as well. You can see the script has been updated and changed to be a focus for ERC. It actually walks you through, if they say this, how you would respond. If they say this, how would you respond? Keeping in mind that you're always going to want to point them back to your landing page. Additionally, I want to scroll down to number 5, right here. This is an additional employer initial or follow-up. You can kind of tailor this script to be if you're following up on a potential client that you've already spoken to, or if you've never spoken to them before. Remember, scripting needs to sound like it's coming from you. Use your voice and tailor these scripts to fit the way that you would speak to them. Each one of these scripts has some little tips and tricks on the bottom, so make sure that you're taking a look at those as well. So again, we've got 2 brand new scripts, and that's number 1 and number 5 under the verbal, I'm going fast, the verbal scripts page right there. Returning back to our homepage, the next item is email templates. So let's take a look at that. And under email templates, if you scroll down again, there's this little section here, and you can click on this section. It'll take you exactly to the specific email template we're talking about. I want to point out number 1 and number 4. These have both been updated to reflect ERC or employers. So again, we've got brand new email templates. Here's number 1. When you are utilizing your email template, you want to highlight everything, copy and paste it into your email program. Make sure that this link is working, otherwise it won't take them back to your landing page. And remember to always update your signature line as well. I also want to scroll down and take a look at number 4, because I mentioned that that's an additional one we've updated for you as well. This one, the subject line I love is waiting on your go ahead. This one's going to trigger people to read it and act. You'll notice this one, it has been completely updated. Not only does it have the link, it also has another link to an article, brand new article, blog article that you can utilize. So again, the way you're going to use this is you're going to highlight it, copy and paste it into your email program, make sure that link works, and make sure to change out the signature line, as well as anything in brackets. Anything in brackets is going to be personal information that you should update before sending out these emails. Like, for example, the type of the business name here and the area here. These are just to tailor these and make them specific for the person you're sending that email to. Great. Now moving on, we're going to take a look at social posts. This one is one of my favorites. Here's our social post page. When you scroll down, again, there's these beautiful, beautiful social posts here. You'll see that we've really updated almost every single social post this time. And the ones I want to point out are number 1 and number 2. Both of them are for employers specific to ERC. Both of them lead back to your landing pages, you'll see. And the way you use these, also, let me point this out, brand new imagery and verbiage for your posts. So that's great. You're going to highlight the verbiage, copy and paste it into your social network, right click, save your image, upload your image, and post. All the while making sure that that link is always working. Otherwise, it's not going to lead them back to your landing page. Perfect. Now we're going to move on to the blog articles, which is right here. When you click on that, looks like this. We did give you a brand new ERC blog article. You'll notice it's right here. And the title of it is "The Clock is Ticking on ERC." This article is designed to make people want to act quickly, kind of points out some specific time frames. It's great to get people motivated. You can utilize this in any form that you want. You can post it on social, send it in emails, text it to people. Just get it out there and make sure you're utilizing it. So that is the blog update or article update for you. Last but not least, we have our landing pages. Our landing pages are perfect. They work amazingly, so no need to update. They are all right here for you to utilize. Keeping in mind that when you're using the tools in the toolbox, all of them already have a link that's either going to lead them to a landing page, an article, or wherever it deems probably the best path for them to become a client. You can always change that out, but keeping in mind that the pre-designed tools already have links built right into them. So that is our updates for the marketing toolbox specific to employers and ERC.
Thank you, Kendra, for covering not only those updates on ERC, but also the updates earlier on the commercial property owners and how to approach them for cost segregation. All of the updates that Kendra covered today are live now in your portal. They're available to use. However, do not run away and start using them. We have quite a bit of information to cover with you as we wrap up today. Some amazing key takeaways, a big announcement from Ryan and Kendra. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them back on with me here so that we can go ahead and kick into the last segment of today's call.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks. We're going to try to keep this to just a couple of minutes. We realize we're over. We did do our best to time this out to an hour. And I think just due to some technical things at the beginning, we ended up a few minutes behind. So I recognize that some people have had to, fall off. So sorry about that. And we'll keep going. So Heather, you've got some, I can't see them. I apologize. Some visuals. You go ahead and play that for me. There we go. So to talk a little bit about, some takeaway points. Sorry. And then we'll kind of get into I want to touch on some of the questions that just came in about pricing and things like that. And I'll talk about that in the ERC section of the takeaway. So Kendra, I loved when you and Clark were talking about things, you really went through and, we're just kind of touching on, Heather,
Ryan usually makes me do the take action stuff, guys.
Yeah,
So.
for some reason I can't see. Talk about a big technical glitch. The PDF
I can see it.
You can. Okay, so you can.
There we go.
So Kendra, as you were talking about this, when people saw this list, I hope it just identified with them and they were able to right away say, what are these clients, and hopefully I would say that you thought of buildings that meet in this criteria, businesses that meet in this criteria. And so Kendra, talk a little bit about that and some takeaways for cost seg.
So I'm going to flip back real quick. So this is a take action. Like this is my step-by-step that we usually go through at the end of the call. So I want to point that out. And the first thing is to make a list. a list of 5 to 10 business owners that you think would be property owners. Now back to what Ryan was just teeing up for me. So we shared this slide in earlier. We had to move through it quickly because there was a lot to cover. My hope was, as we were moving through this, in your mind, you were quickly starting to think, well, I know this person, that person, this person, this person, this person. Those are potential clients. On this list, you're seeing potential clients that most often own their properties. So I really want you to kind of wrap your mind around this. I want you to get off today's call and like literally have a checklist. And that first thing on your checklist is going to be to make a list of 5 to 10 businesses that you think own their property, that you know that would be in your area. You don't need to know them personally. You know how to move through that with the marketing toolbox. So remember this slide, and yes, I'll make sure you guys have access to this. I know that's a big question. This slide, wrap your head around 5 to 10 businesses that you think would own commercial property. The second thing that you're going to do after you do that, you're going to connect with them. And you're going to do that using those tools we already talked about, or in whatever fashion you decide. But you need to connect with them. We give you the verbal scripts, we give you social, we give you email. Get out there and use them on that list that you just built. Third, I want you posting those social ads, because I know in my area, when I think of my top industry leaders, I'm friends with those business owners on Facebook. I'm friends with them on LinkedIn or connected on LinkedIn. If I'm posting and I'm also reaching out to them, they're going to make those connections. So you need to be doing that. You need to be using that blog article, send it, text it to people, say, hey, I think this is interesting. You might want to take a look at it because you own your property. Be casual about it. It makes sense because you're the expert. You're sharing something with them. And then, as Ryan says, just talk about it. Get comfortable with what you do and talk about it. Talk about it when you're at your networking. Talk about it when you're at a business meeting. Just talk about it.
And Kendra, that leads me into, the ERC portion of things. And I'm going to start at the bottom of the ERC list. First of all, you've got to be just talking about it. And I said this in my opening, everywhere you go, this has to start to beam from you. You have to let people know that you have $2.3 trillion available to you. Now, before I go through this list, I want to talk about really kind of two things to tie in. One is, how are the next 2 weeks so crucial, next 15 days? And also some questions that have come in, and Josh addressed it well, is about the price point. So I want to take a moment to address two of those. First of all, if you missed the very beginning of the call, where we talked about, and I kind of touched on, that in the coming weeks, this is why it's so important, business owners are going to get crushing tax bills. They're going to get physical pieces of paper in the mail that say you owe money. So you've got to be out there having these dialogues now. This is going to build you a multi-million-dollar business in 2023. Your action over the next few weeks, you can't afford to wait. You've got to be out there talking about it. Now, the way you're going to do that is you're going to make a list of 5 to 10 employers, and you're going to use the tools that Kendra just said. But on to the second part of that, which comes down to the fee, where someone goes through and they land on that website. First of all, we capture all the data along in the sales funnel prior to presenting a fee to the client. So we're able to know what percentage of companies bail at the fee and things like that. And actually, one of the things our system does is it intelligently, we went back and we've analyzed this fee and, kind of let people know that, sorry, Kendra, just to be able to retarget, those, to be able to retarget those and, go back and show people, at different fee levels and track our conversion. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a moment.
I think I just want to tie in real quick. We get these questions from you guys, like, why is there a fee? Don't you think it's a barrier? Like lots of different questions.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Right.
Every company that offers these services has a fee, either a per employee fee or a monthly fee. You want to talk about Paychex or ADP or those? They charge $2 per person that you candidate. Okay. So when you're looking at our $19 fee for a small business, let me tell you that somebody is going through that in about a week or a few days at Paychex or ADP if they're using a system. You look at some of the more expensive systems and they're paying $5 per employee. Ours comes out to maybe anywhere from 50 cents to $1 to maybe $2 per employee, which makes it by far the least expensive platform that I've ever seen. But with that said, for the next couple of weeks, what we're doing is we've actually on our smallest price tiers, so those small businesses that you're out in front of in those mid-sized companies, we've actually reduced that fee for the next at least the next 4 weeks. Now, we didn't just pick a number out of thin air. This is what I wanted to kind of explain earlier. So as people go through the sales funnel, we're able to see where they fall off, which price points kind of clients have trouble getting past and which they don't. And then we retarget those clients using ads, using email campaigns, things like that. Now, we've retargeted those companies at all kinds of different price points. And let me tell you something, the least successful price point is free. Okay, I want you to understand that. If we could simply drop a $19 fee and go get millions and millions of clients, we would do that in a heartbeat. What we found is that when we retarget, free are actually the clients. We have plenty of clients on the platform that are free that we brought in early days. In fact, we did a free platform for 15 years. And what I can tell you is when we started charging a fee, and this isn't me selling you on it, this is me explaining so you can get it deep down in. People value something with a fee. So what we do is it makes it real to them. It's the thing that sets them aside from everything else. And so I want you to understand that this provides the value to your client as they ran it. It's if they went to QuickBooks and it was free, they would not be using it. Okay. So this is a very important part for you to understand. Now, what we do is we retarget these clients and look for what fee is going to have the highest level of conversion. And over the last month, we have made tweaks to the pricing model on the back end without announcing anything. And I'm really excited. And here's the announcement for you. Our new pricing model, that's already been in effect for about a month, by the way. We've tested it in retargeting. We have our conversion rate of people that fill out the form that are non-advisors, because we track that against the portal, versus people that go on to enter their credit card number. Our social conversion, even on cold clients, exceeded 25% last month. Okay. Now we want to drive that even further. And to do that, we've driven the small business fee down to only $4 per month. Okay. Now, again, this isn't about us making millions and millions of dollars on $4. This is about us targeting a price point that has the highest level of conversion. Here's what I can tell you. When we retarget clients for free, which we've done, and we get them in, they don't upload their docs. Bottom line, free clients don't move forward. When we charge clients too much, then they cancel right after we get their credit. And so what we found is we found a real sweet spot in the last few months. And now for the next few weeks, we're going even more aggressive with that because we want to eliminate any barrier, any concern at all. So for small businesses, this now starts at just, I said $4 a month. I apologize. It's actually $5 a month. And then even our mid-tier price points only go up to around $9 a month. So we really want those clients to get in, to get through the system and get going on that. So again, what do we want you to do? This is really simple. I want you to be out there talking about it constantly. And like Josh said, if you think that $19, let alone $5 is a barrier, you're in front of the wrong clients. Okay. If they're not willing to pay $5, then they're not going to be willing to pay us $70,000 when we invoice them. Okay. Now, a few closing things I want to talk about. I want to get you off this call. We're going to be communicating in a heavy way on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course via email. So you've got to make sure on our Facebook channel, that's where you're watching. If you're watching on the webpage right now, there's less interaction. You're getting a lower quality video, all of those things. I'd recommend YouTube for the highest quality. Kendra, before I go on to the next point about next month, talk about email because you communicate via email. They got to go in and make sure they're receiving your emails.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. So sometimes we'll get in support a question like, I didn't get the invite, or I didn't get this, or I didn't get that. Email programs will automatically decide sometimes where your email belongs in their categorization just based on the fact that we're a business. So go into your email program, make sure to mark us as an approved sender, or, make sure that we're not moving into a junk or a spam folder or a promotional folder, because the emails we'll be sending to be extremely important. Actually, starting tomorrow, I'm sending a very important email to you tomorrow that I want to make sure you all get. So that's kind of one of the action points. I didn't put it on the list, but if you want to write it down, make sure to check your email program, make sure we're approved sender, make sure we're not going to any of those alternate folders.
Now, mark your calendar. Next month is all about marketing. And I love this segment. In fact, I was originally working with the marketing team on doing a 10-minute segment for the broadcast. And I love the segment so much that I said, hey, guys, I'm hijacking your idea and I'm bringing it to the whole call.
Thanks, Ryan.
Next month is about easy marketing that actually works. Okay. And we have about 5 segments with guest speakers. It's something you're actually going to want to be a part of, but it's not complex. In fact, Josh's strategy is a really complex strategy, but it's working. And I'm not taking anything away from that. I love Josh's system. These are easy marketing things that actually work. And the date and time is on the screen right now. Kendra, talk about the first segment, though, that you and your team are going to be covering.
I'm really excited to bring someone new to the table. She's been behind the scenes for quite some time now, and she's the manager of my marketing department, Zoe. Zoe is going to be joining us because she brings a level of expertise that I personally don't have with marketing. She's going to be able to kind of share a lot with us on an expert level that I think you're all going to find really interesting. Some tips we're going to talk about. I can't give too much away. I'm just really excited that she's going to be on the call. She's the one who manages my department now. I've handed all of those people and that task load off to her, and she's going to bring all of that to the table next month in a very specific segment for you all.
Another sneak peek on a segment, and these aren't all the segments, but we're going to talk about how to reach new clients with explainer videos. So, we've talked a lot, Kendra, about how to reach clients through social posts, how to reach clients through email. Last month, I talked about how to reach clients through text messaging.
Mhm.
We're going to be tying a lot of those topics together, but one of them is how to reach clients through explainer videos. And we've seen a real explosion of this, and I think you're really going to like what we have for you and some of the tools. So you want to be a part of this. This is February 6th, 3 p.m. There's been a few questions on how to watch on the other platforms. Next month, we'll have a little bit more clear page for you to land on. Our broadcasting partner actually sent, and drove a lot of people right to the website as an automated email. And that took away some of the clarity, but I can see a large chunk of you are on Facebook and on YouTube. What I'd recommend, YouTube has the highest video quality and audio quality. Facebook may be easy because a lot of you are already there. I would say website is the least, the least interaction, the lowest level of quality. The comments I've seen about, hey, it cut out, it froze, they're kind of all from the website. So
I would say that the website is our backstop.
Yeah.
But if you really want to participate and utilize the platform to the best, try to log in on Facebook or YouTube. It's just a much better experience.
Yeah. But what I really want to leave you with is that you have got to get out there and be talking about this. Okay. You really have an opportunity, like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, to create just over the next few weeks a multi-million-dollar business. Am I saying that you're going to make millions of dollars in the next 2 weeks? No. In the next 2 weeks, you can create a multi-million-dollar business that will feed you for years to come. And that's not hype. That's me saying you've got to get out there. You've got to get clients. Guys, of people that went to our website last month and filled out the calculator, over 25% went on to become a paying client that entered their credit card. So the name of the game, like I said, is how many people can you get to the website? How many people can you get to, get in there and get using the system? But this all starts with a dialogue. Kendra can give you social tools all day long. But really at the end of the day, no, I can't do that because I'll lose my mic. It's in the background there, but really in order for you to build a multi-million-dollar business, you've got to be having these dialogues right here. You've got to be talking about this until you're blue in the face. You've got to have it down. So let me leave you right now with a simple pitch to talk to people about. And I talked about this last month. I think it starts with a simple dialogue question. So the first one is just in talking to people. I had to figure out which camera to look at. In talking to people, you've got to ask them a simple question, and that is, did you take the ERC tax credit? Okay, this is what I like to do. Get out face to face if you can. Get out from behind your camera and ask a simple question. Did you take the ERC tax credit? Now, no matter what the answer is, you've got a solution for this, okay? If they say to you, yes, we already took that. Okay, did you know that there's hundreds of other programs that are available? Okay, now, once you get to them, that's where I love iPads, because at that point, you can just come in and you can say, okay, let me show you. And you get them right to the page, or you text it to them, whatever the case is, and you get them to the page. Now, if they say, no, we didn't take the ERC, it's the same thing. So you say, Mike, did you guys take the ERC tax credit? They say, no, what's that? Oh, man, that's a credit where you can get $26,000 per employee that you have. Let me show you. And you just got them in. This is why I love being in person. Now, I know we're still in a pandemic. We're in an endemic, for that matter. And people are going to want to meet over the phone. But that's where Kendra's showing you the other tools in the emails and the social. These all work together. But I also got to say, it is time to get out there and get talking to people face to face, because I don't know if my camera will follow me. There it will. Okay, good. So as you get out there, there is something different about this. Okay. Well, you can be behind the best web setup, and we've got great web setups with lights and cameras and everything else. But let me just say, you don't need any of that. What I would do if I were going out there right now, frankly, this is a regular size iPad, but I'd go iPad mini personally. I think the iPad mini is a phenomenally sized device. It doesn't feel intimidating. I would just get out there like this. Okay. Be talking to people. You could just walk up and get talking to them about anything. You say, wow, I see you guys added to your menu. Anything is a conversation starter. Okay. If you're at a restaurant, I see you guys added to your menu. Yeah, we had to after COVID, da, da, da. Hey, did you guys take the ERC tax credit? Okay. You see, it's easy to get in. Kendra can tell you this. I can be anywhere in the world. We can be on vacation all day long, and I can get into this conversation. What are you drinking there? That kind of thing. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, you guys on vacation? Man, work's been crazy last year, hasn't it? Da, 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 da. How about you? Did you guys take the ERC tax credit? She can tell you within 2 or 3 stops, I can be into this dialogue and talking. People are like, what do you do? Funny that you ask. So you've heard of the ERC tax credit? No, we haven't. Oh, okay. Well, it's a tax credit. We've kind of blown up over the last year because it's $26,000 per employee. Really? Would my company qualify? Okay. That's a dialogue that you've got to be having constantly. And that right there, I'm going to get far from my mic for a second, if it'll follow me. That's how you're going to build a multi-million-dollar business, is by getting out there and having this dialogue face to face. And I wanted to do this for a second because I wanted you to feel the presence of this. Doesn't this, Heather, switch me back in a second, feel differently than this? And guys, this is like thousands of dollars in rig right here. This is amazing. And yet I hope you see that it doesn't beat the presence, and it never will. It doesn't meet the presence that this has, and it never will. So if you're waiting for the perfect pitch, you already have that. It's simple. Did you take the ERC tax credit? That's the one line that you need to have down in your mind. And no matter what, if you get a client to that point, you can begin to have a dialogue. Don't sound pitchy. Don't sound presenty. Just have a conversation. So talk about it all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. That's the biggest tip I could have for you, and where I want to leave you with this broadcast, besides the fact that you need to be on next month's broadcast, because we're going to make marketing easy. But if you wait for next month's broadcast, you miss the window. Okay. People are getting tax bills over the next couple of weeks, and you need to be out there talking to them about that. So thank you, Kendra. I'll hand it to you for the last word, and then we will end the broadcast.
I think that wraps it up. Thank you, everyone who stayed with us. I know we ran a little over, but we really appreciate you staying with us today. Watch for that email tomorrow. It's really important, and we look forward to the next month with you all. Have a great day.